All right, everybody, welcome back to Brown and Browner. We're going to do a little abbreviated NCAA recap today and touch on all the fun stuff that happened over the weekend. It was a good weekend of sports.
It was pretty amazing, but everything's really centered around March Madness right now.
Absolutely.
And there was some madness that went on. There were some high points and there were some low points.
That is very true. Well, we'll start out with a couple of the high points of fun upsets, to start off the tournament, obviously. All things High Point, great job. Kicked off the weekend with that win over Wisconsin, which was pretty cool, and see that kid that had barely scored any buckets inside the paint, or inside the arc, I should say, do well.
Yeah, to have somebody who literally scored 1 2-point basket.
Yep.
But it was the most important one.
Yes, sir. That was the best part for sure. And after High Point kicked it off, you had a couple first round upsets here and there. Nothing major, I think, that we saw across the board, but really leading in the Sweet 16. How about that Iowa squad knocking off Florida?
The defending champs went down. I don't think many people expected Iowa to be able to beat Florida.
Iowa's outmanned, outpowered, outsized, everything.
Outsized.
And hey, David beat Goliath. What could I say?
Well, it shows you why this tournament is so great and why you play any competition or any game, is because regardless of the advantages of one team, it's about the heart that you put in. It's about putting it out there. It's about it performing at the peak of your ability at the most pressure-packed time.
Yep.
And some people just aren't able to do that.
It's that moment for kids to sign. And frankly, isn't that what NIL is supposed to do? It's supposed to encourage these kids to start showing up when the money matters at the end of the day.
Well, some of them are boosting their brand. Maybe others, like the guy from Kansas, didn't make himself look so great.
That's what I was kind of leading into, was Darren Peterson, controversy of the week, I would say, or controversy of the season as a Jayhawk fan, to say the least. I've never been a fan. I've made that clear from the beginning, and I stick by it. At the end of the day, you can have as much hype as you want coming out of high school. It doesn't matter a lick to me. It doesn't prove anything to me in college. I mean, we've seen it happen where, obviously kids that are good out of high school, yeah, they're good in college, but can they be team players? Because it's a team sport, not an individual sport. And at the end of the day, kid ain't no team player. So you know what, NBA GMs, have fun with that.
Hey, Ice Cube, I'm going to shout out to Ice Cube. Hey, Ice Cube, you've got a 3-on-3 league. Do you got a 21 league where literally you could just play, one person just plays, against everybody? Maybe somebody will come up with that, a 21 league, right?
Yeah.
He's the best single player. You know what?
Yeah.
One of the things that Michael Jordan had to learn was that he could get all the scoring titles in the world and will never win a meaningful playoff game or even reach the championship until he learns how to boost his team's ability and focus and drive to where his was.
Yep. Look at every great in the NBA that ever won a title. Yeah, they had to learn to play within a team. There was always a second fiddle, a third fiddle that had to be on that team that had to allow them to shine. So it made sense. Even with Kobe was obviously a one-man wrecking crew, but he learned to play with Shaq. He learned to play with others. He had Robert Horry. He had all these other cats out there that were willing to play ball, and they learned from him because of his work ethic that he demonstrated off the court. That was the other piece. So, and same thing with Jordan. Jordan had that work ethic and that dog in him. People appreciated that, and they learned off that, and they fed off that. Darren Peterson, no. Kevin Durant, no.
And I'm gonna say about Kobe. Love Kobe, but Kobe was a little selfish. Had he have been a real team player, him and Shaq would have learned to get along, being that 1 and 2. But when you got two alpha dogs in the same room and you got one bone, that's sort of what happened with him and Shaq. So I think Jordan might have been the same way. He just never had anybody that was a rival to him as far as his ability and attitude. So,
no, you're absolutely right. So, I mean, like I said, a lot of these kids are going to come in with their attitudes, their NIL, their fanfare, all that crap. At the end of the day, it takes a team to lead them to championship. Case in point, look at UConn. UConn just keeps winning because they are a team. They got a kid named Solo Ball. He ain't no solo, I'll tell you that.
Well, and I think you hit it on the head, as the team play that they had there. I think one of the things also that needs to be mentioned is not that you need to win your conference tournament to be a 1 seed, But Florida got ousted in their tournament pretty early, didn't they?
They got knocked out the semifinals against Vandy, yes.
Okay, so I'm just thinking, were they ranked where they should have been ranked?
It's like I said from the beginning. I think UConn got a shaft. I think they should have been on the 1 line. St. John's was definitely underseeded, as we can plainly see.
Oh, yeah.
Both those teams got undervalued as a whole. I don't think Florida should have been a 1. I think Houston should have been a 1, and Houston's still there, obviously, and they can prove their point. I mean, Iowa State is a 2. Could they have been a 1? Yeah, because they've beaten enough ones. That's the thing. They beat in Arizona. They've beaten Houston. So the Big 12 beat itself up, but their top 3 teams are there, and that's, said and done. So, they're fine in terms of the Sweet 16. Are there other conferences that could have shined a little brightly? Yeah, I think the Big 10 probably didn't get as much respect as it should have. Given how many teams
one of the Big 10 teams, Wisconsin, went down pretty hard. Ohio State went down pretty hard.
Big 10 top heavy, right? You got Michigan, you got Michigan State. Iowa's in the mix. You got Illinois is a ball. Illinois is an incredible team that puts up 100 points a game. You got those 4, and then you've got a little bit of that's trickle down as you go, down the ways, because UCLA obviously got manhandled.
Although, how about those boys from Nebraska? Had never really won I don't think they ever had won an NCAA game, and now have won games.
The mayor of Ames, the governor of I-80, whoever you want to call it, Fred Hoiberg is the king of I-80, all the way from Omaha to Chicago. He's covered the distance.
Hey, that's funny because I sent out a text. You were on it. Yep. About Hoiberg winning, and I said, yeah, he finally won something, and heard that, maybe it was more Jerry Reinsdorf hindering him in Chicago. I don't know if that's true or not, but Jerry Reinsdorf is a horrible owner and didn't help any of the coaches. But I'm hats off to Fred, hats off to Nebraska. Yes. I guess in some ways, even though you and I haven't been fans of how college's landscape has changed with regards to the conferences and who's in them. Look at some of these teams that came in. Look at a Nebraska who came to the Big Ten, and look at what they're doing now. Yep. So, hats off to Nebraska, and the Big Ten actually usually are gone by this time. Sweet 16, most of the Big Ten teams are gone. Maybe 1 or 2 are standing, not as many as we're seeing this year. Let's also
appreciate the fact, and I'm sure somebody's going to have the statistic other than, what I'm pointing out now, but take a look at the budgets each of these schools has in terms of NIL money in their athletic programs that's in the Sweet 16 right now. Texas was an 11 seed, but we know what Texas is. It's a nation state. It's financially funded ridiculously well for their sports programs. And look at what they got. They still got talent on the floor. They haven't figured out how to cook it all together. And Sean Miller's in year 1, and I understand that. But, hey, they're in the Sweet 16. Let's face fact. Purdue, perennial powerhouse under Matt Painter. I respect the guy. He's been solid. Has he ever taken
NIL? He gave up no NIL, right?
Yep, no NIL. He kept it very simple. And that's, again, a school that's had a tradition. There was some Gene Katie and the comb over and everything else. But you know what?
Yeah.
Purdue, another Big Ten team that, solid and all the ways in. Arizona, look at that. Arizona's my favorite to win. I've already made that clear, from the get-go. Those guys are overloaded, and 1 through 10 can play on the floor for them. That's what makes them deeper than every other team, in my opinion. Arkansas, John Calipari, hey, Kentucky, you effed up. Let's face facts. You decided to run him out of town because you were frustrated with not getting the championship every year. Well, guess what? It doesn't always happen every year.
Yeah, guess what? How many championships have they won?
Yeah, exactly. But and then since you haven't even gotten the star power to come into your school. Kentucky is the premier basketball program in the country. It's a blue blood.
It used to be. It used to be.
And you cannot recruit anymore over there because you don't have that swagger. I'm sorry. And I'm sorry, Mark Pope, great player, got his title in 96, 95, whatever it was with Jamal Mashburn and the boys, but he ain't that dude that's going to go into a recruiting office and go get the number 1, kid out of high school. So Kentucky, you'll have to figure something out. Kansas, you got to figure something out. There's a lot of these schools that are going to be interesting to see how everything is. Look at North Carolina.
I was just about to say, look at North Carolina. Talk about a true blue blood that used to be the perennial professional feeding ramp. Yep. None of these players are even worthy of being in the pros.
They've lost that tie-in to the days of Dean Smith, and that to me is what the biggest cost is for North Carolina. Because had you kept that entire streak alive of that tradition and everything else, then Jordan would be more invested to even come back to school and try to help out his cause, because he's a North Carolina faithful in terms of the state.
Yeah, but didn't they replace Dean Smith with Roy Williams?
Well, they took Roy from Kansas, and then Roy retired. And then after Roy, they brought in a couple other guys here and there. It hasn't worked out so well. Then they brought in Hubert Davis, who was part of the blue blood tradition in a way, and it hasn't worked out.
But you can't recruit like you used to.
No.
And these star players aren't going to those schools anymore. The Kentuckys aren't getting the star players. You know what's so funny about looking at Kentucky? There used to be the college or the university where guys, they had to put rules in place because guys just wanted to come through Kentucky and have their 1 year and go to the pros.
Well, they screwed up the coaching bit because they went from a Pitino, they had Tubby Smith, then they brought in Calipari, and then after Calipari, that's when everything went downhill because you brought in Billy Gillispie. That didn't work out. They ran that dude out of town before he even got into the office. That's how bad it was. Like, that dude didn't even get his chair in. That's how bad it was. The boosters there completely botched that. And then ever since, they've been in disarray trying to figure out their coaching situation. And because of that, no kid wants to go invest his time and money and effort into a school that doesn't have stability. It's as simple as that.
Well, that's true. And I tell you what, if Pope didn't get them to win that, if they don't hit that mid-court 3-point shot to tie the game at the buzzer to go to overtime, he might be looking at something similar.
I'll give you a fun other controversy. So Hubert Davis obviously was already kind of in the lurch a little bit. Loss didn't help, obviously, in the NCAA tournament. The guy can't bring in big time kids. Do you think they already had him talking in the office? And do you think that's why Kenny Smith walked off the set on TNT?
I didn't see that, but I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, and he hadn't shown up since because he's been on leave or PTO or on an island. Now he might be interviewing for that North Carolina job, as far as I know.
Well, what's funny? I don't think Kenny can do it physically. His knees are cashed. But what's funny is some of the same blue bloods have still been able to thrive. Yeah, Duke and North Carolina used to be like this.
Yeah, now you got
now it's a big gap.
John Shire's done an incredible job of carrying the tradition on. Yeah.
Well, and in football, you used to see Alabama used to be like this. Well, actually, Alabama was like this with all of the rest of the teams. Yeah. And now they're actually below the rest of the team. Georgia is now the best in the SEC, and you have other teams winning championships before Alabama probably will ever win another championship.
Yep.
So I don't know if it's a good thing or bad thing. I don't know if this is NIL. I'm not sure exactly what's bringing this about.
A lot of money being thrown, but yeah, it is, it's going to be interesting to see. Now, the cool thing is, I think with the Sweet 16 teams, you got a lot of balance. So you know what? Let's get right into the picks of it at the end of the day.
Let's look at it.
Start with the East. Duke and St. John's. Who you got?
I hate Duke. I should have been on that 30 for 30 about I hate Chris Leitner. I should have been that guy because I hate Duke. Always have. I'm like Jalen Rose. I've always felt that way. And they're still proving my point, but they're still a great basketball school.
Yep.
And quite frankly, as much as I know they're a better team, I'm going with Houston.
You mean St. John's?
I'm going with St. John's. Yes.
Interesting. So I'm going to go with chalk on that one. I'm going Duke only because of the depth. Boozer kids are playing ridiculously well. They still haven't gotten their other player back off of injury. They just got too much.
He played last game.
Yeah, he did get a few minutes. You're right. Sorry, he did get a few minutes, but they just have too much depth for St. John's. St. John's is still like only a 6-man rotation, which makes it tough at this stage. They're gonna have to have the depth to outlast Duke. I think it'll be a close game, but I think Duke pulls it.
You may be right. One thing just to say, the first game they played, trying to remember the team.
Oh, they struggled. Yeah,
they struggled, and that team played their 5 starters the entire game.
Yep.
I'm not sure how that coach survived the locker room because if I was a player on the other team, granted they stayed in the game for 3/4 of the game and they were winning at halftime.
Yep.
But they didn't put one sub in all game long, and it hurt them at the end of the game. Yeah. So it's possible that St. John's could suffer the same fate.
Yep. In that same bracket, you got Michigan State, UConn. This is a hell of a blue blood.
That's going to be a hell of a game there.
You got Izzo, you got Hurley. They both got similar dogs in terms of their rosters. I'm going experience on this one, more recent experience. I'm going UConn.
I'm going UConn as well. I have them winning my pool. Gotta take UConn. I feel like either one of these teams are good enough to win the championship.
Absolutely. I mean, Fears, great kid. Seems like he's got some attitude issues, but he can't be a one-man wrecking crew with Izzo. You've got to have a team around him, and he doesn't have enough depth to take over UConn team. That's getting better and better by the round, it seems like, which is just scary.
Yep.
That sets up Duke and UConn in the East Final.
I gotta take the Dogs, baby. I gotta take the Dogs. I gotta take my Huskies. I think that they're
coach battle.
Well, they're good enough to beat Duke.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I saw in the last game with Duke is that even though they won that game and they won it pretty much without boozers contributing, either one of them. Yeah. And I think that if they can do something similar, UConn can put points on the board and UConn can play defense as well.
Danny Hurley is a hell of a coach. It's as simple as that. He's done I mean, obviously his players are good, don't get me wrong, but they're not that upper echelon, like one tier, Cam Boozer, whatever. He makes it a team effort for UConn. And I think that's what always pays off. And that's what's gotten him his championships. And frankly, could have been a third last year at one point. Yeah.
I mean, if you look at their teams, even the ones that have won, I'm thinking the last time I can remember a real UConn player being a standout was like Richard Hamilton.
Richard Hamilton, Khalid El-Amin. I mean, this guy's,
Because the rest of these guys, don't get me wrong, they're not bad, and they've been playing great ball, but none of them are like a superstar.
Exactly.
And that is a testament to the coach and to the team buying into the vision.
Yep, absolutely. That said, let's go south. Iowa, Nebraska, the Big Ten battle.
Wow, it doesn't get more plains than that.
No, that is just a cool I-80 battle altogether. I mean, these schools are barely separated by 3 or 4 hours. This just makes it a lot more fun, and the fan bases for both schools travel ridiculously well. That's what's going to make it kind of fun here. This game's in Houston.
Yeah, they have to travel, by the way, because there are no other teams and no other sports that they have in those two states.
And that's how dedicated their fans are. That's what makes sense.
Exactly.
Yeah. So now who you got? Iowa, Nebraska.
I don't know. Those Nebraska boys I love what Mark Few and another coach said about the term Cinderella and blue bloods and all of that stuff. Nebraska is not a blue blood or Cinderella, and they're not a blue blood either.
No.
But they have this kind of story to me.
Yep.
A university not used to winning at all in the NCAAs, and then boom, here they come. I'm going to take Nebraska.
They're a school of tradition. I mean, think about Tom Osborne in football. I mean,
the football is the tradition. Yes.
Yeah, football's a tradition. Volleyball is a tradition there now. It's a mecca of women's volleyball, for that matter.
Okay.
At the end of the day, Fred Hoiberg's building that culture. Iowa just doesn't have enough depth, in my opinion, on their roster to sustain. And Nebraska's got some scores. I'm going Nebraska, and I'm going with the mayor on that one, or the governor, whatever you want to call him. I'm going to go with it too. He's still going to be the mayor of Ames, Iowa, to me, because he was always a giant killer at Iowa State. So he was that guy.
Well, I tell you one thing. Iowa's got to fight through the whole idea of, man, we pulled an upset. We played our hearts out. All of that emotion was in that game.
Yep.
And I have a feeling they're not going to be able to do that. And they're going to start slow, and that's going to hurt them.
Plus, that Nebraska fan base, it travels the country. It's not that hard to go down I-35 down to Nebraska.
I was going to say, yeah.
All right, that said, Illinois, Houston, in Houston, mind you.
As much as I'd love to, with my state, just can't see Illinois pulling this one off. Houston's just got too much. They're not five slammer jammer.
Yeah,
but they are.
Sampson's got a perennial contender, and I love that. I love him as a coach now. I didn't like him before. I thought he was a little scummy. But I'm respecting the hell out of him because he finds these other guys and he turns them into players, which is pretty cool to watch.
Yeah, agreed.
Yep. So that sets up UConn Houston.
That's going to be a tough game, and that's that's Final Four.
That's a Final Four matchup. We can go to the other side of the bracket first if you want. Doesn't matter.
Let's go to the other side and get our other part of the Final Four.
Let's go to Arizona, Arkansas. You got Arizona and its 10-man team, and against Calipari and a one-man wrecking crew.
I would love to take Arkansas. This is where my peeps are. My family back in Arkansas, Foreman, Little Rock.
Yep.
But you guys are going to get beat.
Yeah, no, I mean, Arizona is just it's a manhandle powerhouse this year, and they've got rookies and freshman class that is unbelievable. Braden Berries, honestly, should be a player of the year candidate, in my opinion. He's that good. Texas, Purdue.
Well, what a surprise, to be honest. Texas. I'd love to ride that horse out, but honestly, Purdue was ranked very high at the beginning of the season. They did really well.
Exceptional. Yeah.
Yeah. And the Big Ten must be a little tougher than we thought it was. So I'm actually going to go with Purdue on this one.
This one's tough for me because Matt Painter has the team concept down for his players at Purdue. He's got excellent guard play. Obviously, maybe the best backcourt in the NCAA with Smith and that guy. But this Texas team is showing something special. And the fact of the matter is, Texas has a huge recruitment class because they're NIL money. Sean Miller is a great coach. They've got a guy from Europe in the middle that's starring right now in the front court. And it's going to be a matchup of front court versus backcourt for Purdue.
I like Purdue's guards.
If history tells me anything, guards have always won championships. So I'm going to go Purdue.
All right.
But it's going to be a close game. Yeah.
So that leaves us one.
Yeah. So you got Arizona
1-2. Is that right?
Basically. Let's see. No, the South bracket we had Nebraska, Houston. So that was 4-2.
Okay, 4-2. Oh, that's right. Because Florida.
Yeah, Florida went out. Yeah. So all right. So Arizona, Purdue in the West final there.
That's a 1 and a 2, right? Arizona.
Who you got?
Yeah, that's right. I have to take Arizona.
Oh, no. Yeah, same.
Given the circumstances, I'm taking Arizona. On the other side of the bracket, it would be what? UConn
against Michigan, Alabama first.
Oh, Michigan, Alabama. That's right. Michigan, Alabama. Alabama surprisingly has gone this far, given that one of their star players was arrested right before the tournament.
Yeah, dude got high and left. Yeah,
yeah. But the buck stops here. This may not be the Fab Five, but these boys can play.
If there's a team that's playing second best behind Arizona, Michigan. That 1-2 punch that day, and oh my God, they are brutally physical basketball team, and they're deep too. So hats off, Dusty May on that one. Tennessee, Iowa State. Again, I'm shocked Rick Barnes is there. This is the first time I'm losing money on Rick Barnes.
I can't believe it either. He's been more of a choker than a winner. Give it my hats off to him. And this is where it all stops. Iowa State's going to be a rough out for whoever, which is going to be Michigan. Michigan's going to have a tough out with them.
Jefferson, Momchilowicz. I'm going to go down the line with Iowa State's
those boys can play. They're rough and rugged.
Yep. So I'm going Iowa State. So that sets up Michigan, Iowa State.
I got to go with Michigan.
The depth is it's sick out there.
Yeah, and they've proven that they can basically, last a game and play all 60 minutes or whatever.
Yep.
So I'm going with that.
That sets up a hell of a Final Four, in my opinion. And honestly, it's a crapshoot right here. So let's start off with UConn, Houston.
Got to take the Yukies. Honestly, this could be 4 in a row. Is that right?
It could. Well, yeah, but with barely a loss last year, which I think they would have won the title if they wouldn't have lost that game. And then this year, good God, you're looking at a 4-peat. I mean, that's a sick.
I'm going to go with Lil Hurley. I mean, he's proven that he can put a team together. The other thing is Simpson and Houston, another team who was there last year, right?
Yep.
I still don't feel like they have enough to win it all.
I'm strictly going on roster depth. UConn plays, I think, about a 6 or 7 man rotation. Houston can go 8 and 9 deep. And frankly, I think they're going to be coming off more refreshed than UConn because UConn's coming off Duke in the prior round. So we'll see how it goes. But I'm going Houston. You're going UConn.
All right.
The other Final Four, Arizona and Michigan, which I think is going to be one hell of a game.
I think that is going to be a great game. I'm going to have to stick with my Midwest roots and take Michigan on that one. I know Arizona seems like the buzzsaw, but I think this Michigan team's got a little something special going on with them.
It does, but I'm still sticking with the Big 12. I'm going Arizona.
All right. So for you, it would be Arizona against
Houston, the rematch of the Big 12 championship for you.
And for me, it would be UConn, Michigan, and then I have UConn beating Michigan.
And I got Arizona over Houston in my case. So yeah, no, it's like I said, I think the Final Four is literally going to be a crapshoot. It's going to be fun to watch because if the teams that we're predicting are the ones that are getting in, holy crap, we're in for a fun, entertaining Easter weekend.
I think so. I think there are going to be some really good games. I feel like regardless of where we were with the Final Four, there are only a handful of teams in there right now that I think can win it, and most of them are 1s and 2s. And we see that there's a one already gone, Iowa State. They could be a dark horse to win it.
Yep.
I don't see Purdue winning it. I just don't see that.
I don't think they have the firepower to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're talking Michigan and Arizona.
Yep.
Houston's got the ability. What has Simpson won in his lifetime?
Calvin Sampson always tends
or
to
Sampson,
falter.
excuse me. I think an O.J. Simpson, my fault.
Yeah. He always tends to falter in the biggest moments, which is the unfortunate part. So you're right. My only question for that Houston team is, do they have that guy that's finally going to break through and be the alpha dog? They've got a ton of great guards, but they never had that one alpha guard or that one alpha dog that just says, I'm going to take over the entire game and put it on my back. Yeah. They've got 4 or 5 guys that have the capability, but they don't step up in that shining moment. So that's what's different. Versus UConn, you got a guy, Alex Caravan, who's going for a 4th title.
And they have the players. They have that something that makes a team great. And I think that's Bobby Hurley who's made them do that.
I like to say they got that Gino Auriemma, but in this case, they got Danny Hurley too. They got 2 of the most elite.
Or Dan Hurley, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Dan Hurley and Gino Auriemma. They have 2 of the most elite coaches in basketball on the men's and women's side, by far.
I'd love to see them do it again.
Yeah.
Hats off to UConn for them to have both programs be the elite.
Yep.
And the women's program is like so dominating and has.
They're going undefeated this year. I've already got it. They're a 49% chance to win the women's bracket undefeated. Think about that for a second.
Yeah, they were talking about betting against betting the field against them, and then all of the commentators said, "No, I'm taking UConn."
Yep, that's how dominant UConn women's basketball is. It's just scary. And then again, like I said, Arizona, they've got 10 guys that can play, which is quite impressive. Michigan, honestly, that team's scary.
Michigan can win it all.
He plays NBA physical ready basketball.
Yeah. I think all of these teams can win with the exception of Purdue. I think all of the other teams have the ability. It's just not Purdue. Purdue does not have the ability to beat those teams we just named. Right, Purdue. Yeah, exactly. All right, man. This will be a very, very great Final Four.
Yep.
I think we'll be back on before the final game, so we'll get an opportunity to reevaluate where we are and talk about the upcoming matchups.
Watch the opening weekend of baseball, so good times there. So definitely enjoy. The weather's getting a little bit better outside, thankfully. Everybody can hopefully get out a little bit, watch some sports, get out to the bars, enjoy some of the NCAA basketball this weekend. Have some good times.
Hey, I'm actually going to the United Center to see a game there, so it'll be fun.
Yep, that'll be fun. You get you'll be the winner, or you get to see Michigan, Iowa State potentially.
Oh, that would be. I hope so. Praying for that one. That would be it.
So no, enjoy the games, have fun. We'll be back next week to recap the NCAA weekend and give our predictions, hopefully, for the finals.
You got it. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about some of the other sports as well.
Yep. Hats off, everyone. Have a good week.
Take care.